Alright, I need to correct something people get wrong constantly. Non-avian dinosaurs didn't go extinct 66 million years ago. Dinosaurs went extinct. Full stop. Because there's a group of dinosaurs sitting outside your window right now, and yeah, I'm talking about birds. So before you say the dinosaurs lost to an asteroid, understand this, some of them didn't just survive. They're still here. They just downsized and learned to fly better. Let's set the scene. 66 million years ago, a 10-kilometer-wide asteroid slams into what's now the Yucatan Peninsula at around 20 kilometers per second, fast enough that it barely notices the atmosphere on the way through. The impact itself is almost impossible to describe. Megaton-scale energy, a fireball that ignites wildfires continent-wide, a shockwave that levels forests hundreds of miles out, and then the real killer sun-blocking debris that plunges the planet into darkness for months, maybe years. Photosynthesis basically stops. Food chains collapse from the bottom up. And when the dust settles, 75% of all species on Earth are gone, every non-avian dinosaur. Pterosaurs completely wiped after 150 million years of dominating the skies. Marine reptiles like mosasaurs and plesiosaurs gone, ammonites gone. So here's the actual mystery worth chasing. With that kind of kill rate, how does anything from that world make it through? And more specifically, why birds? Because birds absolutely should not have made it. They're small, fragile-boned, high metabolism, meaning they need constant food. In an instant winter world where food basically vanishes, that sounds like a death sentence, not a survival advantage. But the birds that did make it shared a very specific trait, and it's not the one you'd guess. It wasn't flight. Plenty of flying birds died out completely. What actually mattered was diet, specifically, being a ground-foraging seed-eater. When the sun disappears and plants stop growing, seeds already sitting in the soil become the last reliable food source on Earth, sometimes lasting years in a dormant state. So the birds that survived were, essentially, the ones who could peck around in the dirt and live off seed banks while literally everything green above ground was dying. Meanwhile, specialized fruit eaters, insect hunters, fish eaters, all far more vulnerable to a collapsing food web, mostly didn't make it. It's a brutal filter, not the toughest survived. The ones with the right emergency backup food did, and once they're through the bottleneck, birds don't just limp along, they explode. Within a few million years post-impact, in an empty world with basically zero competition, bird diversity goes berserk, eventually producing everything from hummingbirds to ostriches to the terror birds of South America. Actual flightless apex predators that would casually decapitate prey. So in a very real sense, that adorable pigeon outside is a card-carrying dinosaur whose ancestors clawed their way through the worst day in Earth's history. Now let's talk about the group everyone assumes are dinosaur cousins but actually aren't, crocodilians. And weirdly, their survival story might be the more impressive one, because unlike birds, they didn't downsize or change strategy. They basically just waited it out. Crocodilians going into the extinction were already semi-aquatic ambush predators, and that lifestyle turns out to be an amazing extinction-proof strategy. Freshwater and detritus-based food webs, the gross stuff at the bottom of rivers and swamps, dead organic matter, decaying plant material, are far more insulated from a sudden collapse in sunlight than open-air ecosystems are. Rotting material doesn't need photosynthesis to keep existing. So while forests were dying and terrestrial food chains were collapsing entirely, crocodilians were sitting in rivers eating whatever scraps drifted by, running on a metabolism so low they could go months without a real meal anyway. And here's the detail that always gets me: crocodilian body design basically hasn't needed to change in tens of millions of years, because it was already close to perfect for exactly this kind of catastrophe. Low energy requirements, armored, aquatic, opportunistic. They're not surviving extinctions by being adaptable. They're surviving by having built the ultimate bunker lifestyle millions of years before they ever needed it. But not every archosaur cousin got that lucky, and this is where it gets a little tragic, honestly. Because right up until impact, there were still lineages hanging on that had been thriving for tens of millions of years and just didn't make the cut. Choristoders, bizarre long-snouted aquatic reptiles that had been quietly surviving since the Triassic, mostly vanished shortly after, save for a couple stragglers limping into the Cenozoic before finally disappearing for good. It's honestly one of the more overlooked casualties of this whole event, a lineage that survived literally everything up to this point and still couldn't clear this particular bar. And that's really the gut punch of this whole story if you think about it. Survival here wasn't about strength or size or how dominant you were beforehand. The absolute rulers of the planet, the giant theropods, the massive sauropods, the pterosaurs who owned the sky for 150 million years, all gone. Meanwhile, it's the seed-pecking birds and the swamp-dwelling opportunists who make it through, purely because their specific lifestyle happened to line up with what a sunless, collapsing world required. There's something almost darkly funny about that. Being the toughest animal on Earth meant nothing. Being boring and adaptable meant everything. So yeah, next time someone says the dinosaurs lost to a rock, just point out the window. They didn't lose. They just evolved into something small enough, weird enough, and lucky enough to slip through the cracks. And honestly, that might be the most metal survival story in this entire franchise. And that's where we'll leave it for today. I hope you enjoyed this journey into the world of the past. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more incredible stories about extinct animals and the creatures that once ruled our planet. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.